So I thought it might be useful to do a short behind the scenes video on how to get to Asahidake and give you a few pointers and tips on tickets and the terrain type on offer there. I did think that the Japanese pronunciation of Asahidake was maybe shortened to Asidake, but we had a Japanese guide yesterday and he did add in the H, so I think it is Asahidake. So in terms of the roads that you'll be driving on, assuming you're driving yourself with a hire car, this is kind of what it looks like on the way up to Asahidake. We had fresh snow last night, so this is a bit whiter than usual, but yeah, it's manageable. This car, which I've nicknamed the Japanese Princess Wagon, handles pretty well. It's got a four-wheel drive option and it's got the snow tyres on. And you know, we're not skidding all over the place. It's quite easy to handle. Worse when it's icy actually, then you really do need to be careful. But I reckon even without the 4x4, you wouldn't have any problems driving in this with snow tyres on. It would still work, especially if it's got some sort of anti-skid mechanism on the car. I think the driving conditions are worse, and maybe we'll show you in a second, but if you've got drifting sideways snow and you've got vehicles passing you, making it even worse, you see these arrows pointing down on the road. From what we can gather, the main purpose for them is if you have got essentially a fog of powder, and then it's basically to show you where your side of the road is. I guess the passenger side should line up with the pointy bit of that arrow. Otherwise, you'd potentially just be doing head-on collisions with cars coming in the other direction. But yeah, in terms of distance, I guess you'll be approaching Asahidake from either Furano or Asahikawa. And from Asahikawa, it's probably about an hour and a quarter's drive. And from Furano, probably an hour and 3/4. And there's not much traffic, especially midweek in January. It's not exactly a very touristy place, this, because it's not really a dedicated resort. It's more like a cable car serviced bit of backcountry in the winter. So this is it, folks, the Asahidake Ropeway base station. Car park's looking pretty quiet. I mean, 2 lines of cars. Yeah, looks like we're gonna have the mountain fairly exclusively to myself. Ooh, and there's one of the cable cars. Is he coming down? Is he stationary, isn't it? Is it moving?
No, stationary.
Or is it just slow?
This is one of the problems with this particular resort, is it's high, it has high wind, and anything above 16 meters per
16 meters per second.
and they won't run the cable car. So even though we checked on their website beforehand to say it was running, it doesn't take much for it to stop.
That is moving though, that is moving. Look, it's coming close to the stanchion. It's just slow. It's moving. It's good, people. But yeah, 16 meters per second translates to something like 45, 50 kilometers per hour from memory, which is quite a lot. Probably writes it off 1 day out of 3. Okay, so we're on. Let's do this. So important to wear an avalanche transceiver when you're skiing or snowboarding in the backcountry. Massively increases your chance of being found if you're unfortunate enough to get caught up in an avalanche. And you can buy a combined kit of transceiver, probe and shovel online for about £200 in the UK online. And there's plenty of YouTube videos showing you how to perform an avalanche rescue.
That's why you notice that when you're searching out in the field, you're not always walking in straight lines. Sometimes you're walking in big arcs.
And well worth doing some practice or even taking a class if you want some confidence of doing a rescue in a quick and efficient manner. And for those who watched my previous Asahidake video, I do acknowledge the stupidity and danger of boarding alone in backcountry. Normally I have Jill with me, but she had to sit it out because of exhaustion and injury. And the prospect of boarding Asahidake got too much, and I decided to accept the danger. Naughty me, naughty. So in terms of Ropeway operating times and frequency, check their website for the full schedule. But for us in January and the darker winter months, it operates between 9 AM and 4 PM and run every 20 minutes. And in terms of fares, it's 1800 yen for a round trip, but you're not going to need the return leg. So 1200 yen per trip up, which converts to about 8 British pounds, or 11 US dollars, or 9 euros. Or other better value options are 3,500 yen for a 4-hour pass, or 4,500 yen for an all-day pass. The caveat being, if the cable car closes partway through because of bad weather, there's no refunds on that money. So another option to do is a 6-lift ticket with a slight saving at 6,000 yen, and that would safeguard you from any bad weather, assuming you're going to be coming for multiple days. And the cable car cabin itself holds 100 people plus the driver, maybe less in winter where people have got all sorts of skis and snowboards and gubbins. And you get counted in with a clicker, and they really do pack you in to get everybody on board. And in the cold winter months, the whole cabin is pretty much frozen up, so don't be expecting any glorious views out the window. But you should be able to wipe away a bit of ice if you want to get a quick camera shot. And after a 10-minute ride, you'll arrive at the top at Sugatami Station. It's got a bit of a mini warehouse opening where you can get your gear together before you brace the bad weather outside. And then once you're ready, head out the back door and get ready for the action. And at the top, you've essentially got two choices. Either head right into the advanced section of the upper mountain, or head left for the intermediate, kind of more open area around the cat track. I started off on the intermediate to see what that was all about. So yeah, a bit blowy at the top there. Very difficult to see the groom track from the side bits. So it's just a case of getting down 100 metres, 200 metres or so, and the wind's calmed down now. And sort of heading towards the bit where we cross under the gondola line. But once I get a bit better visibility, I think I'll set about getting in to these trees and experiencing the true JaPOW. So yeah, didn't get any footage on that intermediate run. It was almost like a green run in parts. I didn't dare kill off too much speed in the off-piste sections for fear of not being able to carry the speed along the cat track. So yeah, I think the advanced runs are where the good action is at for a snowboarder. And I think I'm going to head down into that lot. I can see some skiers down there, so that's where it joins the intermediate track. It's a lot smaller than you think actually. This didn't take long at all to get down. Less than half an hour, 20 minutes. So in terms of trail maps, there's not really very much on offer. This is about as comprehensive as they feel needs to be understood. But my short summary of it is Course A, that is where the special stuff lives. That's the classic JaPOW action with the deep powder, good steepness, and a smattering of trees and a few gullies. Course B is kind of medium steepness and it's got some open sections, but not particularly interesting. And Course C is a fairly flat cat track which takes you about half the way down the mountain. You can dip into the powder off the cat track for bits of it, but often the powder's too deep to go too far in, so you'll just get stuck and you'll have to dig yourself out. And course D I never actually got to see, but I suspect it's a slightly steeper version of course C. Heavy trees and cat track. So I hope this video has been useful to you if you're considering a first time trip to Asahidake. Just to finish you off, here's a couple of website recommendations that I found useful. Of course, the Asahidake Ropeway official page will show you whether the cable car is running or not, and that helps to make the decision on whether to start making the drive out there. And also this snowforecast.com has been a really good site to look at the different weather conditions at each of the Hokkaido resorts, and was pretty reliable. And helps you to work out whether the wind's going to reach that all-important 16 meters per second ropeway suspension conditions.